Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Intro to State Government Contracting with SBSD, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network in partnership with the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. We are recording today's presentation, and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them at the end of the session. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Angela Barber, Business Services Manager for the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. With over 25 years of marketing, strategic planning, and economic development experience, Angela is responsible for business development and outreach for Hampton Roads, the Peninsula, and the Eastern Shore. Prior to her employment with the Commonwealth of Virginia, Angela worked for the City of Chesapeake's Economic Development Department for 17 years. She began her employment with the city in 1999 as Marketing Research Specialist and spent the last 9 years of her tenure as Business Development Manager, focusing on small, women, and minority-owned business development and entrepreneurship. As Business Services Manager for the Virginia SBSD, Angela provides business development resources, counseling services, training, and technical assistance with the state certification program, SWaM, for small business owners interested in doing business with the Commonwealth of Virginia. She also serves as buyer advocate for state agencies in her service area to help connect small businesses to contracting opportunities. Please join me in welcoming Angela Barber.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you, Sheila, for that wonderful introduction. That was great. And also with me today is my colleague, Miss Chris Lay. I cover the Hampton Roads Eastern Shore region, so that's everything from the Eastern Shore up to Williamsburg. But Miss Chris, she covers Northern Virginia. So give us a wave, Miss Chris. And she's going to be assisting us today with answering questions. And like she said, we have our Q&A that's open. So you guys, please feel free to drop any questions in there. And between Chris and Sheila, they're going to be monitoring your questions. And hopefully we will get to everyone's questions today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation. Great. So today is the Intro to State Government Contracting webinar, and we're going to be covering how to do business with the Commonwealth of Virginia. So like most agencies, we have a mission statement, and ours is to provide education and assistance, economic opportunity, and access to capital to generate employment and economic growth for small businesses. So before I jump into the certification pieces here, I also want to provide a brief agency overview. A lot of people don't know that we provide other resources for our small businesses. So we also provide access to capital. The Virginia Small Business Financing Authority is our in-house lending division, providing different loan options for our small businesses. So make sure you visit our website if you're interested in looking at those opportunities. Business development and outreach. That's the team that Chris and I belong to. Along with myself and Chris, we have 3 other individuals covering other parts of the state as well. So through business development and outreach, we support all economic and business development through workshops and training like this. We also provide access to resources and one-on-one business counseling sessions. We also provide certification, and it's funny, a lot of times people will refer to me as the SWaM lady, or they think our agency only does the certification, but it is a service provided by our agency and a very big part of what we do to provide procurement opportunities for our small businesses who want to sell to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we also have our sourcing and compliance division, and they basically are a strategic sourcing support for SWaM participation. So they are working with all of our state agencies to make sure they're utilizing resources to connect and to buy from our small businesses. So there are 2 steps a small business owner can take in order to position his or her company to have the best advantage to hopefully bid on and possibly be awarded contracts within the state of Virginia, our colleges and universities, and many local government agencies that utilize our certification. So the first step is to register in EVA. EVA is the bidding platform. It is our online electronic procurement system. EVA, just like the girl's name, EVA. Their website is eva.virginia.gov. So you want to register in EVA. So exactly what is EVA and how does that all to come together? How is it made up? So again, it's Virginia's e-procurement portal. It is the tool used by the Commonwealth for all purchasing activity. It is also managed by the Virginia Department of General Services. This is where all of our bidding opportunities are announced, where you can get quotes, and also orders are placed for goods and services. There are 245 plus state agencies, colleges, and universities that make up EVA. There's over 770 local governments. So our cities like Arlington, Fairfax, Hampton, Norfolk, Virginia Beach also make up the audience within EVA. And there are over 13,000 users, EVA users in this system. So to define small purchases in EVA, these are purchases that are under $10,000. And the method to bid is a single quote. So you're basically submitting a price. We're looking for a single quote. And the award priority for these purchases under $10,000 are for certified businesses under the micro designation. Now for purchases $10,000 up to $100,000, that method to bid is a competitive bid. And the award priority here are for businesses certified under the designation of small. For purchases over $100,000, those are 2 different opportunities. One is through an invitation for bid, which is called an IFB. These are competitive sealed bidding. They have very specific terms, detailed specifications, and they are awarded based on the price. Now, the requests for a proposal, or RFPs, are through competitive negotiation. The vendor proposes a solution, and 2 or more offers are selected for negotiation. And the award is not based on the lowest price, but it's the best overall proposal. So what do you need to register? Well, you need to have a federal identification number, which we call the EIN number. There's also a Virginia Substitute W-9 form. Now, this form is found on the EVA supplier registration page. So if you're registering EVA and you click on the supplier registration, there's a little paragraph underneath that talks about the W-9 form that must be completed, and it also must be uploaded into your EVA profile. But in order for us to identify the goods and services that you sell, you must also have commodity codes. These are called NIGP codes. NIGP simply stands for National Institute of Governmental Purchases, and those codes represent goods and services. So they're your commodities. So to access the EVA website, which is public access, you simply go to eva.virginia.gov. And you always want to make sure you spell out Virginia. So in this screenshot, this is the home page for EVA. And to register, you just want to click on Register Now. I also recommend that you take a look at this icon here, I Sell to Virginia, because that's what you want to do. You want to sell your goods and products to the state of Virginia. And then under this icon, there's a lot of very useful information about the EVA platform. To look up those NIGP codes, all you have to do is from the EVA homepage, You can access it from the very bottom of the page by going to the tools and go to NIGP code lookup. Another way to actually access the NIGP code from the home page is if you go under resources, there is a tab for NIGP code lookup. This is a screenshot of what that page looks like, okay? The commodity codes describe your products and services. It also tells EVA buyers what you sell. And your bidding opportunities are matched by these NIGP codes. One thing to remember, that services will always start with the 9. So if you provide nothing but services, you want to make sure that all of your codes start with the number 9. Any other number means that those are products or goods. This is just another screenshot to show you that. So for instance, if you are a consultant, you providing consulting services, your master code would be 91800. However, if you are a consultant, you may be consulting on something very specific. So you always want to make sure that you click on the master code, which is hyperlinked, to get the subset of codes. And you want to scroll through those, and you want to add as many codes as necessary to represent the goods and services that you are selling. EVA also offers training. These are free virtual workshops that are offered every week. From the homepage of EVA, if you scroll down about halfway, you will see the EVA vendor outreach events. If you click on the calendar, it will open up for every month, and you will see training every week. We have workshop 1, which is the basic info and the intro to selling. And then the second workshop is the advanced workshop that will teach you how to generate leads. In order to access customer care, you might need technical assistance with registering, or you may have a specific question regarding the EVA platform. You can always reach out to our customer care team. And the information here provides the customer care hours. You could submit your request if you are the supplier. So you want to request your request form, okay? So the second step is to apply for certification through our certification program, which we call SWaM. We also offer our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise certification as well. So you have to meet the eligibility requirements for the programs, and businesses must be for profit. So you must be a for-profit business in order to apply for SWaM certification. So the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, or what we call DBE certification, is a federal program from the U.S. Department of Transportation. And the purpose of DBE is to increase the participation of certified DBEs in projects that are federally funded. And these projects typically include heavy construction, such as building and designing roads, bridges, railroads, ports, and airports. So I don't know how many people are on with us today that are from the Hampton Roads area, but the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel Project is an example of how that DBE certification is used. So for our SWaM certification, SWaM is small, women-owned, and minority-owned, which we call SWaM certification. And there are other designations under the SWaM umbrella. This is the Commonwealth of Virginia's small business program, and it is to enhance procurement and contracting opportunities for SWaM businesses participating in state-funded projects. Now, while I will say that for state-funded projects, we also have a lot of local government that utilize our SWaM certification as part of their procurement activities as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of those SWaM designations and their definitions. So to be a small business in the Commonwealth of Virginia, it is defined as no more than 250 employees or having no more than $10 million in gross receipts averaged over a 3-year period prior to certification. For woman-owned businesses, at least 51% of the business ownership is controlled by one or more women. So that's not just in name only, but also the ability to be able to show that the 51% or more is in control of the daily operations, also of the industry for that particular business. Minority-owned business, at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more minorities who are U.S. citizens or legal residents. And then we have our micro business certification. For this designation, it's no more than 25 employees and no more than 3 million in average annual revenue. So for small business and micro, they are based on the number of employees as well as the revenue. So remember, small business, no more than 250 employees or no more than 10 million in revenue. And for the micro business certification, no more than 25 employees and no more than 3 million in average revenue. So for micro, you have to meet both qualifications. We also have our service disabled veteran designation. So 51% of the ownership should be controlled by one or more individuals who are service disabled veteran. All right, and we also have a 3% spending goal with businesses that have that designation. We also have our employment service organizations, or our ESOs. ESOs are organizations like the Goodwill Salvation Army that provide community-based employment services to individuals with disabilities, and they are previously approved by the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, which we call CARF, and they are an accredited vendor for the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. So they have to have the CARF accreditation before applying as an ESO. These organizations also provide goods and services that are marketable to state agencies. We will also recognize our federal designations. So the SBSD, or the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, we do not certify in any of these certifications. These are typically certifications that are processed by the Small Business Administration, or what you may know as the SBA. For these designations, if you already have them, we do allow you to check the box in our certification process or the application. However, if you check the box for any of these certifications, we will ask you to upload your SBA approval letter. So remember, we do not certify on this level, but we will recognize them along with the certification for SWaM. So SWaM certification is now done online through our certification application portal. Paper applications are no longer accepted, and prior to 2017, this was a completely manual process where you made copies of all of your documents in your application, you put it in an envelope, and you sent it to our Richmond office. Now everything, the application and the required documents, are all housed in the online portal. The standard processing time, once submitting a complete application, is about 60 business days. So that's about 3 months to process an application. SWaM certification is also good for 5 years. So it will expire 5 years from the date that you were approved. So now I'm going to cover some of the supporting documents that you will need to upload in addition to completing the application. So, proof of identification. That's your DMV or your driver's license. And for those of you who don't drive, it's your state ID. You also will need proof of your U.S. citizenship or permanent residency. So that can be proved with a passport or a birth certificate. You will also need documented proof of your contribution to the business. So in layman's terms, what did you spend out of your pocket to start your business? Whether it is one owner or multiple owners, that information will also need to be provided. The resume of all owners and officers. And it's important to remember that a resume should have chronological order of work history, education, but it should also include your business. So you want to make sure that's on your resume as well. You will also need to provide copies of professional licenses and permits. So while you may have a business license to operate in the city where your business is located, Some of you may be in an industry that requires a professional license or permit. So for instance, if you are if you're in construction, you may have a contractor's A, B, or C. If you do welding, it's a welding certificate. If you are in food services, your local health department provides a Safe Serve certificate. So for your professional license, if a professional license is required, it must be uploaded as well. You'll also be asked to upload your business tax return for your current tax year and 2 previous years. Now, the question I usually get here is, I'm a new business. I haven't filed taxes yet. That's okay. You can still apply for SWaM certification. So here it says new businesses that have not yet filed taxes may also apply. So we're going to be asking you also for the first page of the Form 941. This is the employer's quarterly federal tax return for the most recent 4 quarters. So this is to report the number of W-2 employees that are part of your business. So if you have no W-2 employees, be sure to enter 0 for the number of employees. Otherwise, the system will automatically ask you for the 941s. That does not include 1099ers. 1099ers or subcontractors pay their own taxes, so they would not be included in the number of employees and are not reported on the 941. So additional documents that are going to be required are going to be based on how that business is formed or how they're structured. For companies that are formed as a corporation, there's a lot of documents that we're going to be asking you for. You should have your certificate of incorporation as well as your articles of incorporation. These documents can be found and are part of public access on the State Corporation Commission's website, so the SCC. Even if you don't have a copy, anyone or you can go to the SCC to search for your business entity and go to the filing history and download those documents. We're also going to be asking you for your corporate bylaws. The bylaws are in place to provide instruction or guidelines on how that company is run. It's going to include information about the number of shares, the number of that are needed for a quorum, and who has control of the business. Also, we're going to be asking you for the minutes from your most recent stockholder and your board meeting. Even if you are a corporation with one owner, these are required. Both sides of the stock certificates. So typically when you become a corporation, depending on how you're registered, you may receive a stock certificate naming each of the owners and the number of shares that each owner has in the company. Sometimes those stock certificates may not be issued. If that is the case, it's simply a statement saying that no stock certificate was issued. However, the stock ledger is required. The stock ledger is a document that keeps track of all of the owners, the number of shares, and any time that those shares have been allocated or sold. That is required. If the business is formed as an LLC, not so many documents, but just as important, your certificate of organization and your articles of organization. Again, these documents can be found on the state corporation website if you don't have a copy. We also need a copy of your operating agreement. Much like the bylaws, it gives information about who's in control and how that business is run. However, if you are a single member or the only owner of an LLC, we don't require the operating agreement, and you would just have to provide a statement to us indicating that you are the only owner of the LLC and you don't have an operating agreement. Additional documents based on other formations, sole proprietorship. So we're going to be looking for your current business license for the city that you have your business located in, and also a certificate or assumed or fictitious name. So most sole proprietors, their business is registered under their name, but they might be trading as or doing business under a different name. So you might be John Doe doing business as JD's Automotive. Your certificate of assumed or fictitious name is also registered with the State Corporation Commission. We can certified franchises. So whether that franchise owner is a corporation or an LLC, of course, we're going to be collecting or we're going to be requiring those documents, but we also need a copy of your franchise agreement. Whether it's 1 page or 100 pages, that franchise agreement should also be uploaded. When you check the box in the application that you are a franchise, the system will automatically prompt you to upload your franchise agreement. If you are a partnership or you have a partnership agreement, you should have a signed document that's the partnership agreement. I do want to say that you want to make sure that your operating agreement, your partnership agreements, all of those documents should be signed. Now I'm going to share some information about the actual application portal. So the next screenshots you will see actually are from our application portal. You can access the application through our website under our certification tab. Once you click on the link that gets you to the application portal, the first thing you'll see is the screenshot here. In order to access the system, like anything else, you'll need to register and create a login and a password. Okay, we're going to ask you for your name. You're going to create a username and a password, confirm it, and you're going to provide an email. Please use an email for your business that you check on a regular basis because you will get notifications from the SWaM certification team or from the portal. And then you want to hit register. Once you click on register, the system will send to you a letter or an email asking you to confirm your account. So you want to make sure that you click on this. And if you don't, it usually happens right away. You may want to check your spam folder if you don't get it in like a minute. And then once you have completed the confirmation, you're simply going to go back and log in to the portal. Once you're inside of the SWaM certification portal, you will be in what is called the dashboard. Here, you will have an opportunity to either create your application or to link up to recertify. And again, we will need your EIN number to be able to do that. Once you're in the SWaM application portal and you're in the dashboard, you're going to simply click on link/new application and you'll be prompted to put in your EIN number. This is a screenshot to show you some where you would be checking off the box for all of the designations and business types that you are applying for. You may check the box for all of the designations that you are applying for. So it is one application, not a separate application for each of the designations. Once you have completed the actual application, the second piece of this is you're going to be uploading those required documents. Every document has a home. So wherever we ask you for those particular documents, that's where you'll be uploading. So you want to make sure that if your document has more than 1 page, that they are scanned together to create one file and they're uploaded. Once your application has been submitted, you can check the status of your application in a couple of areas on our website. Under our certification tab, you may also check your certification status, but on our home page, you may also scroll to the bottom under resources and check your application status there. That will give you very basic information. However, once you have created your application and you hit submit, the image you see in the lower right-hand corner, that is the last image that you will see once your application's been submitted. Once you log back into the application portal and click on your application to open it, you will see this page in the lower right-hand corner. On the left-hand side is your time and date stamp. On the right-hand side is the processing review. So it gives you a general idea of where that application is in the system. What you don't want to do is be careful not to click on edit and not try to resubmit the application. If you do that, it will reset your date and time stamp. So some of the advantages to SWaM certification is the priorities to award, to micro and small certification. And those opportunities are based on the lowest price, which we call quick quotes and IFBs. And I do believe that we may have covered this already in the previous slides as well. So in order to, for SWaM certification assistance, if you're interested in providing, if you're interested in applying for certification, there's several different ways that we can do that. We have a customer service team that is based in our Richmond office. You can contact our Richmond office. They will provide basic answers, but if you need technical assistance, they will reroute you to your business service manager. So they may ask you what city that your business is located in, and then route you to your business service manager to provide technical assistance. And this is just a list of all of my the business service managers under the business development and outreach team. And the best way to contact us is via email. So you want to make sure that you reach out to us when you have questions, specific questions, or you need technical assistance. And that is the end of my presentation. That's just my information to be able to reach out to me as well. Thank you. Let me come back here. And I do believe she might be muted.
I think Chris is answering one of the questions in the Q&A, but we have another one. I'll read it for you. Let's see. It says, what if a company has not been filing quarterly taxes? Can they still get SWaM certified?
So when they say filing quarterly taxes, are they referring to the quarterly 941 that indicates their number of employees?
I'm going to ask the person who asked that question. It came in around 12:20. If you can elaborate, if you were talking about the 941. And Angela, you've got your calendar up on the screen. You might want to take that down. Thanks.
Oh, let me stop sharing. I guess.
Yeah.
Stop sharing.
And if we have any other questions, please go ahead and drop them into the Q&A. And Chris is answering one question, but in case it will help anyone else, I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud. Can you go into further detail about, it was in quotes, match you with bid opportunities? That was way back at the beginning.
Yes. So you must be registered in the EVA bidding platform. And to be matched to opportunities, you have to have a profile in the EVA bidding platform. And we talked about those NIGP codes. So those codes are what represent the goods and services that you sell. So if I'm a buyer and I create a solicitation for janitorial services, that code is 91039. And in my solicitation, I'm going to have the codes that I need to procure or purchase that particular good or service. Once that solicitation is posted in EVA, if you have those codes in your profile, you will be matched to that opportunity based on the commodity code. And then you will receive a notification in your inbox in EVA.
Let's see, we have another question. I started my company 6 years ago, but I don't know if or how much I contributed. Is there a way to find that information for proof of contributions?
So it doesn't have to be an exact number. Okay, if you typically, if your business is less than 5 years old, we're looking for receipts. So you paid for that LLC, there's a receipt for that. Your business license, there's a receipt for that. You may have purchased equipment or supplies. You may have paid for insurance. So if your business is less than 5 years old, we're looking for about 2 or 3 of those receipts to show that you actually had an investment in your business. Now, if the company is greater than 5 years old, it's a statement. I started my business in 1995. I paid for, paid a lawyer to set me up as an LLC. I bought equipment and supplies. I purchased a cell phone. I paid for space. My total investment, my estimated investment was $3,000. So it doesn't have to be exact. It can be an estimate. And that's the statement for businesses older than 5 years old.
Great. Let's see. Angela, can you put your contact information back up on the screen? And just so everyone knows, we're going to be emailing the recording and the slides out, so you will have that information. But if it's easy enough for you, Angela, if you can pop it up now, that would be great.
Okay.
If not, like I said, everyone will have that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I can share my screen again, I think, with that information.
no worries. If you, like I said, it will be provided. There you go. Thank you.
Can you see my?
Um, yes.
Okay, great.
So another question, someone had to hop on late. Can you please provide the link where to find opportunities and submit the applications?
For opportunities with EVA or submitting the SWaM application?
I'm going to let the person who asked that question to please elaborate on which they're looking for. And as a reminder that again, the slides will go out, so you will get that information.
Yeah, and I will, I guess if it's two-part, to access the opportunities is through EVA, through the bidding platform, and that is eva.virginia.gov. And I think my screen, if you guys are still looking at that.
I just put it in the chat.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's a,
I just dropped it in the chat for anyone who
okay.
needs it.
And then to access the SWaM application, you're going to be going to our website, sbsd.virginia.gov. You're going to hover over certification and you will see a link that says apply now.
Certification.
And again, that information will also it'll be provided as well.
Exactly. Yes. Okay, so the quarterly taxes question, we're going to go back to that one. Yes, so they were regarding quarterly taxes. A business that is applying for SWaM, single owner LLC, has not been paying quarterly taxes, but only has 1099 employees.
Okay, so that means you have no employees. You will not report 1099ers. Employees are W-2'd employees that you pay a paycheck to. You take taxes out, you file a quarterly 941. So if you don't have W-2'd employees in the application, you're simply going to put 0 for the number of employees, and the system will not prompt you to upload the 941s. In some cases, we have businesses that may start out with no employees. Say you don't have employees the first or the second quarter, but then you hire W-2 employees, say maybe the third or the fourth quarter. You would only upload the 941s for the quarters you actually had employees. Otherwise, it's going to be 0 in the application and it will not prompt you for the 941.
Can I add to that?
Yes, please.
So she's talking about quarterly taxes and 941 filing, but if you're referring to the self-employed quarterly taxes, that's a totally different thing. This has nothing to do with the self-employment SE taxes, because that's also filed quarterly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what they were referring to on that, but thank you, Chris, for clarifying. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what she was talking about, so I just want to make sure people understood they're two different quarterly taxes.
Right. And if the person who asked that question, if we haven't answered it, if you could just type in a whole new question, we'll get that answered for you.
Yeah,
and Chris, can you drop your contact info into the chat and I'll share it with everyone? Someone's asking for that.
I will also say too, for taxes, if you started your business, say in 2015, and now it's 2023 or 2024, and the most recent tax year is 23, we're asking you for the most recent tax returns. If you indicate that you have not filed taxes and you've been in business for a while, they may ask you to provide an explanation as to why your taxes have not been filed. Sometimes businesses will start and not do any revenue. We have military that start businesses and get deployed. Some people will start a business and maybe health concerns. So just keep that in mind, that if you've been in business several years and have not filed a tax return, they will ask you to provide an explanation.
We have another question. Would there be an option on EVA for housing such as safety housing?
That is, I would definitely say reach out to one of the business services managers, because There are thousands of NIGP codes and services that the state purchases, goods and services. And for us to determine that, we'd have to probably have a one-on-one, ask you specifically what services, look up NIGP codes that are our best match and run them through EVA to try to find out if the state is buying the services that you provide.
Is there a preference for established businesses, or will statements of newly established affect the application?
Newly, as far as SWaM certification, no. We a lot of times we get startups that have just started their business and they have applied for SWaM certification. That will not hinder the SWaM application process. It's based on meeting the criteria of each of those definitions and having those supporting documents to be able to do that. Now, as far as opportunities on a bid, a lot of times a requirement might be experience. So keep that in mind, that if you are responding to an RFP or a request for bid, and they're looking for a certain level of experience, a very new business that has not done business may not have a great, as great an opportunity to provide that versus a company that has experience in that particular industry.
Let's see, another question. I'm not sure. It says, can other of my employees register in EVA? I'm not quite sure what that question's. So the person who put that in could please elaborate. Okay, here's a question. Oh, Chris is dropping on that one.
Right,
Okay, here you go. Chris is fast. Do I need my WSB certification before I apply for SWaM?
No, the WOSB is a federal certification, and there's no rhyme or reason, and there's nothing that says you have to apply for one or versus applying for the other. The WSB is a federal certification, and a lot of times that is acquired when businesses are looking to do government contracting at the federal level. You can apply for them at the same time. I don't know what the timeline is on the federal side, but sometimes people will apply for the state certification, get the state certification, utilize that to be able to have opportunity and work their way up to the federal side. So no, there's no rhyme or reason on that or any specific timeline. One of the things is if you do apply for SWaM certification and later you decide, oh, I want to get my WOSB, and you go through the SBA and you get that, you can always come back to SWaM and add that, and we will recognize it along with your SWaM application.
Great. So here's one that's looking just for, I think, a little bit of feedback from you. I'm enrolled in EVA and I've been reviewing a lot of requests for bids for my services, but my biggest concern is how time-consuming submitting bids seems, like it could be without any definite return on investment. Is this just the nature of the beast?
It is. Part of it is. And that's why it's important to understand the different levels of government contracting. You have your local, which are your cities, your state, and your federal. And each level of government contracting has their own procurement rules. They have their way of processing. Quick quotes with the state of Virginia, we don't require anything other than a price, but you do have to submit your quote within the EVA, using the quick quote tool within EVA. All we want is a price. However, depending on the complexity or what is required in an IFB, and particularly an RFP, yes, there's going to be more information that will be needed. But you want to make sure that, one, your company can provide what it is that we're asking for. So you want to make sure that you read those thoroughly before jumping in. I've seen too many companies jump into an RFP or an IFB without reading it thoroughly, get through the process and realize, well, maybe this isn't quite what I want to do. So you want to make sure that government contracting, you should learn the ins and out of it because it's not for everyone.
So is there a limit on who can register to access EVA? I, as the owner, registers to view opportunities. Can I also have one of my employees register also?
So I believe within EVA, once the owner registers, they have an opportunity to give access to those in their company. The same thing with SWaM certification. If you are the owner for SWaM certification and you register, you can actually give access to other individuals within your within your SWaM application. But I do believe that EVA allows you to do that as well.
Okay. Next question. I presently live in another state, but I did purchase property in Virginia with the goal of starting a business for profit business. Do I still go through EVA first?
Okay, well, businesses outside or headquartered in states outside of Virginia will have an opportunity to apply for SWaM certification if two things exist. One, we have to have reciprocity with that state, which simply means that that particular state allows Virginia businesses are allowed to register or to certify in their certification programs, reciprocity. And two, if you are headquartered in a state, say North Carolina, we have reciprocity with North Carolina, and your business is headquartered there, you have to be certified by North Carolina before applying for SWaM certification in Virginia. So you want to make sure those are questions that you ask if your business is headquartered outside of Virginia. One, do we have reciprocity with Virginia? And what is the process?
A follow-up to that question about whether the owner and then other employees can go on the site. The question is, would the employees be able to bid on opportunities on behalf of the company?
The employee, well, that depends on within the company. So who signs the contract? So sometimes with the owner, they will have maybe hired a contract manager or someone who is actually looking up those opportunities. But typically, the contracts have to be signed by the person that's in control. That whoever has that control. Yes, Chris.
I just want to go back to that question from Sheila about being out of state. I think she asked if she could be registered in EVA.
Oh,
So
in
any
EVA?
business can actually register
Yes.
to do business in EVA. You don't have to be in Virginia. You don't have to be SWaM certified. But Angie was correct with all the certification requirements, but you can register your business to do business in EVA.
Okay, yeah, I didn't hear EVA, but thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for catching that, Chris.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Angie, we're getting a lot of questions about people and they're confused about the quarterly taxes. Can you just say it one more time? I just saw another question about if I don't have employees and don't have revenue, do I still need to file quarterly taxes?
Okay.
Can you say it one more time?
If you have started a business and say you're a new business and you have not filed taxes yet, you have not filed your tax return for your business, yes, you can still apply for SWaM certification. Okay, so say you started your business in 2023 and you have not filed didn't file taxes for the business yet. If you're doing the application, you will not be required to upload taxes. We typically ask for 3 years. People get immediately I guess intimidated, and some of them think, oh, I gotta wait 3 years to generate revenue before I can apply for SWaM certification. No, you will just enter in the application the most recent tax years, 23, then 22 and 21, and enter zero for revenue. Now, for the employees, if you do not have W-2'd employees, those are individuals that you pay a paycheck to, you take out your taxes, you file quarterly on a 941. That 941 reports the number of your employees and what you've taken out. If you are a full-time employee, think about when you look at your pay stub, the Medicare taxes, all of those things get taken out. That's what a 941 reports to the IRS. So if you do not have employees, the other thing is the owners. A lot of times owners will put themselves as the employee. So until you become a W-2 employee of your business, receiving a paycheck and filing it on a 941, that number should be 0. Yes, you can still apply for SWaM certification even if you don't have employees.
Okay. Let's see. We have another question here. When you say experience, would it be from a business performance standpoint or an individual standpoint? For example, I have administrative experience or worked in that field. Would I be able to utilize that, or would it have to have been performed under my business?
It depends on what the solicitation requires. Some may take into account, you may have been in construction for 20 years and you know that industry very well. You start a business as an owner of a construction company. So you do have relevant experience, even as in the construction industry. So it will depend on what is required on that solicitation. And I have not, I'm not quite sure, Chris, if you've seen any. I know that requirement experience is required for some of the solicitations to be able to bid on those jobs. But in terms of, do they look at as a business, or are they looking at former experience? And some of the things that I have seen as far as a business, they may want you to have references that show that you have provided those services as a business. You have to read thoroughly.
I'm going to
Thank
say
you.
it depends on the opportunity. There are some contracting officers and opportunity where they will accept your past experience for the owner instead of past performance, which is for the business. So it's really going to depend on the opportunity that you're bidding for, which they specify.
We have someone asking, where do I send the W-9 form?
Go ahead, Chris.
Eva will send you an email. Once you register your business, Eva will send you an email, and that's when you follow the directions in the email to submit your W-9 form.
And it must have an original signature. So while you can complete the W-9, it's a form, it's a PDF form, it still must have the original signature. So you cannot drop a digital signature. They will return it and say it requires an original signature.
Do we have any other questions out there? You can drop those into the Q&A, please. And we've got about 9 minutes. We can pick Angela and Chris's brains. Here's one. Okay. If I win a contract, would there be anything different from working with the state versus providing my goods services to a non-government entity? For example, documentation, post-award coordination.
Could you read that again for me?
Sure. Or maybe Chris, since you're looking at it, probably, right?
Okay, so when you win a contract, that contract and the opportunity is going to spell out how you provide the service and your compliance requirements when you win the contract. So it may or may not be different from non-government entity. I'm going to say my guess is that it is going to be different because there are a lot of compliance that you have to do year end, a lot of reports that you have to submit. And it will just be all spelled out in your contract. So you shouldn't have to guess any of that.
Right.
Thank you. I figured that might have been an easier way to handle that. You all know more than I do. Is there any unique feedback or insights particular for franchisees?
I will say the reason they ask for a franchise, so a franchise operates just like a regular business. You are an LLC, you can be a sole proprietor, you can be a corporation, depending on that franchise and what they require. The reason why we ask for the franchise agreement, because you, in addition to the additional documents being LLC or corporation, is with sometimes franchisees' operations have specific guidelines on who their franchisees are and who they can do business with. So they may have language that says you can only do business in this manner or with these individuals. And so that's another reason why they read those franchise agreements to make sure that there's no conflict of interest or any conflict there between doing business with the state or government entity under that particular franchise.
I'm going to ask a question. It's more of a general question probably, but how do you submit an original signature on an e-form?
So you would print it out after you complete it. You print it out, you sign it, and you scan and you upload it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This might help someone else here too, so I'll go ahead and read it. I have a holistic healing business. How can I work with state, or are there any contracts for my business type?
Again, that will be scheduling a one-on-one to actually look at the services you provide, to match you up to those NIGP codes, and to search in the EVA database to find out if the state is buying what you're selling. And again, a lot of times you might not be selling the goods and services that we're buying, but we also like to provide in any insight where a local government might be, okay? or where you may have other opportunities, or it could be to utilize that SWaM certification to do business to business. We encourage that as well, because once you become SWaM certified, you are listed in our business directory. And so you have access to other businesses. You'd be surprised at the goods and services that other businesses look to purchase from companies that are SWaM certified.
Okay, let's see. What is the link where we can see what the government is buying?
On EVA's website. So under the EVA website, it is a public website. And I don't know if we've had a couple of minutes. If you give me a quick second, I will share my screen.
Fabulous.
I will show you exactly where you can go to take a quick look. Again, EVA is public access. You do not have to have an account to log into EVA, but you must have an account in order to access your information, your profile, and to be able to bid from within. And I'm trying to find the share real quick. Share screen. There's EVA's homepage. Hopefully it comes up. Can you guys see that? EVA's homepage?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I don't know why that's being hid there. Oh, there we go. So if you can go to EVA, hover over business opportunities, you can click on the link. This is just one of many ways to be able to look for opportunities, okay? You can do a keyword search, or you can search by your NIGP code. When you come here to the business opportunities, this is a running dashboard of every single solicitation that has been posted within EVA. So you can do a search here, but you have to take your time to do this because keywords are very broad. But that's why you would schedule a one-on-one with one of our business services managers, or make sure that you attend that free workshop that we talked about, that I mentioned earlier, on learning how to navigate EVA. It's going to walk you through all of that information as well.
This one, you may have answered this, but any direct resources on SWaM certified business bidding on contracts for the first time?
One of the best things that I can do, recommendations, or is to say, read. Okay, if you are new to government contracting, whether it's state, local, federal, you want to read those solicitations thoroughly, and at least twice to make sure that you understand. When it comes down to actually responding and how to respond to those RFPs, or how to write those, we do work with the Apex Accelerator. The Apex Accelerator, formerly the Virginia PTAC. It is a free service provided by that organization. They will not write your RFP for you. They will say, come with a draft. So they want you to make your best effort at responding, or trying to respond to that solicitation. And as a client with them, they will walk you through that process. They will read, they will critique, and they will help you answer questions on that. So the Apex Accelerator would be our resource to do that. And from time to time, every once in a while, we will take a look as well. I don't know if Chris has probably had opportunity as well. But again, that's not our immediate focus, but we do have a resource for being able to assist you with that.
I don't know if this is a question you can answer or not, but the question is state open to new business ideas in healthcare?
Well, it depends on, again, the state buys what it needs to function. So again, if you are selling what we're buying. And so one of the ways to find out, and someone said to me, well, they don't know they need it if they don't know it exists. And that, I do understand that. And so one of those things is to find out who buys specific goods and services, and contact the buyers for that particular agency. And hopefully you have an opportunity to speak with the buyer, to introduce what it is that you're selling, and to find out definitely if that agency is purchasing what you're buying. I can't speak for any one particular agency on how do you get in front of them, but the best way to find out what they're buying and selling is utilize EVA, but also is to contact those buyers. And within EVA, when you look at those solicitations, we provide everything that you need to be able to reach out to those buyers within that solicitation.
Okay, I think we're right at time now. So any last words of wisdom from you ladies before I wrap us up?
always ask questions. You know, I would definitely say ask questions. We are here to provide, you know, assistance to answer those questions for you. I mentioned earlier, reading is fundamental, and I really do mean that sincerely. Please take the time, you know, to learn the different levels of government contracting. What our procurement rules may be very different for the state than it is for local government. And again, you know, make sure that you're utilizing the resources that are provided to you, because they will help you get through this process. And we tell our clients, you know, because we cover the entire state, one of the things that we say is that we're here to meet you wherever you are geographically in your business, as well as what business stage you are. So there is always ask for help if you need it. Chris?
Chris?
What she said.
And she said it very
There
well.
are a lot of resources out there for you. Reach out to one of us and we will help connect you to the resources in your local region. There's a lot of free resources, so you shouldn't have to pay people to become certified, for one thing. You shouldn't have to pay people to write your proposals for you, because as a business owner, you should be writing that proposal yourself. And there's a lot of assistance and help for you out there. So reach out to us. We are your business resources. We're librarians, kind of like, for your business, as resources. We are your business agency in Virginia. So reach out to us if you don't know where else to go for help. I want to thank everyone for their time, attention, and attendance. I hope you received a lot of information. And I hope you bid on things. You're not going to win a contract you don't bid, so go out there and bid on EVA contracts.
Love it. Yes, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Angela, and thank everyone who attended today. Just another reminder, you will receive an email with a link to the recording and to the slides, so you'll have all of these links handy for you and instructions. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we do hope to see everyone at our next session. Take care.
Thank you.